the tea is hot because the tea gonna be hot in this video. Okay. Hey y'all, it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel. And by the title of this video, you already know this is my most disappointing reads of 2022. Hot tea today. Today's actually Christmas Eve and my son's taking a nap, so we filming. And check this out. Cute cup. This is a new cup after the mug collection. So this is a new Pioneer Woman cup that I got. I love it. You love to see it. But I had to make tea for this because there might be some tea in this video. So who am I? Okay, it's still too hot. Okay, I don't have too many physical books here just because books I don't like, they gone. Okay, but I do have a small stack right here, and what I did is I went through my little reading spreadsheet and I just kind of looked at what were the 2 stars, 2.5, and maybe a couple of 3s that really like were on the lower scale of the 3s. Does that make sense? And then I looked at all the books I DNF'd. I do have a DNF shelf on my Goodreads. And I figured out how to do that without it counting as like a read book. So that worked out good. It's just, you make it as like a main shelf or something. I don't know, I had to Google it of how to figure it out, but finally figured that out because it kept counting towards my read books. But I had 7 books that I DNF'd this year. Some were pretty early, some were mid-book. It's crazy. So I think first I'm going to talk about the books I DNF'd, and then I have notes over here because I'm going to tell you right now, I read like 140 plus books this year, so I can't remember every little thing, so please forgive me looking at my notes, but just know I had memory problems. Okay, so especially with books. Okay, so the first book that I DNF'd this year, I almost said month, this year was Willa of the Wood by Robert Beatty, and this is a middle grade. So I was trying to read it for middle grade March. The premise of this sounded so good at the time, but y'all, So I had my first vlog, I think, with this book, and I was just like, what is this? Because, okay, I read Seraphina and the Black Cloak series by Robert Beatty, and at the time I really enjoyed it, but I don't know, maybe looking back I wouldn't. But this book, I picked up on some weird things. It's all about this girl, Willa. She's like a thief. She moved without a sound, still without a trace. That was the whole thing about this book. And so she was like this night spirit, it's what they called her. It's like this mythical world. And so she, you know, she was like her clan's best thief. She gets caught. She has to run and hide. And this man, human man, tries to like chase after her. You don't know what's going on. The rest goes on from there. She's trying to figure all this stuff out about her people, and just her curiosity is leaving her to get hurt all these places. And all these things start happening. The reason that I DNF'd this, around 40% in, I felt like there was content in this that was just not appropriate for kids. So we had multiple mentions of her being hit by the leader of her friends, so there was some physical abuse there. They depicted the leader of this clan as a god. I didn't like that. There was a lot of details surrounding blood and animal injuries, and that's like personal. I was like, I can't deal with this. Death and everything. It was just like very depressing in general. And where I stopped with this is there was a relationship between her and that man who was trying to get after her. He was like a middle-aged man. And I know that they meant this to be like building, like they were a family, but I don't really think they were intending for anything to be inappropriate. But she had just met him and was like, soon after that, sleeping in the same room, like high up in a tree or something, I want to say it was, with him and his dog, and that was just not okay with me. And like some of their interactions were very like just off-putting for me. So yeah, I seen other reviews mention this, and I was like, I'm out on this. So sorry, Robert, you was out. Okay, and I'll try not to talk too much about these DNFs. Okay, but that was the one I wanted to mention because I had read so much of it that I felt like just reminding y'all, hey, don't be reading this, in my opinion. Hey, and PSA, disclaimer, if I DNF'd any of y'all's favorite book, please do not come for me in the comments. I think we're old enough we can say everybody has different opinions. Okay, it's not a personal attack, honey. Another book I DNF'd was The Identicals by Elin Hilderbrand. I don't think this author's gonna be for me. I read like 3 chapters, I was like, I'm out. Okay, just the content wise, she's like a secular author, and I don't know, just something about it was not for me. And then Jamie Jo Wright, The Souls of Lost Lake. I DNF'd this in April. And I read 100 pages. This was my first time trying to read Jamie Jo Wright. I've not like completely said, hey, I'm never going to read anything by her or anything. Because there's a lot of books a lot of you all love by her. It's just The Souls of Lost Lake, I think, was too creepy for me. Yeah, I'm not going to get into the details, but it was just too much for me. I was 100 pages in and I couldn't do it. I have a really hard time with scary stuff, so that kind of I don't know, it just was really creepy. And then Melissa Ferguson, The Cul-de-sac War. I'll talk about Meet Me in the Margins here in a little bit because that was one of my disappointing reads for the year. But after that, I tried, it was after or before, I can't remember. Around the same time, I was trying to read The Cul-de-sac War. And I read like 2 chapters and I was like, okay, no more of this. It was after, I think. I was like, no more of this. It's the same feeling I'm getting. I just can't, I don't really vibe with her writing much. So I ended up putting it down and I think I sold it on Pango Books. So I've got a couple Sarah Adams books on my shelf, The Cheat Sheet and When in Rome. And I think those will be good books. A lot of y'all love those. So don't take me wrong on this. But I listened to about half of The Off Limits Rule, because it was set in Nashville and all this stuff by her, and I just did not. I was cringing too much with it. Like, why we gotta say his Adam's apple bobbed? It's like, you know what I'm saying? Why did they say that? I don't notice an Adam's apple bobbing. I'm just saying, okay? It's not just that. There was a bunch of other stuff, but that's the one thing I've ever said to my friends. Y'all, like, 2 chapters back to back, they said this. It was so just, I don't know, it was just cringe. Like, a lot of the interactions were very cringy and whatever. So, I ended up just putting it down. I was listening to it, plus, you know, that's the other part of this is, like, narrators make such a difference. I didn't like the narrator on this at all. It made it worse for romance. So, I probably wouldn't have noticed much of it if I was reading it. But, like, yeah. Okay, I mean, I'm just not going to go in with that one. I'll probably not try the other ones of hers, but that I have, that people have really, like, claimed they really love, but yeah, this one was I was peaced out on that. And I actually got 50% in and I had to say bye. And then we got Maggie Knox, All I Want for Christmas. I did a whole little rant thing on this, but I'm sorry. Your girl loved the holiday swap, okay? I mean, I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, I think. 4, 5? I don't remember. It was like really good, okay? And it was cute and clean. There was no language. It was so much fun. And mild language don't bother me, y'all. Mild language truly doesn't bother me much at all. But with this book, I was like, look here, Max. Y'all already know. If you see my video, you know. It was like one of my wrap-up videos. And I just couldn't get on with him because this was set in Nashville. They're supposed to be on, like, it was almost like Country American Idol. They were like partnering together. It was supposed to be a cute little romance. All this cute stuff. The premise of this, I was so excited about. And I literally got 50% in. And the guy just kept saying GD. And I'm like, do you have to say this? Like, miss me with this, Max. And, you know, when it's the main guy in a romance book and a Christmas book, that was like top 3. No. Like, I couldn't deal. I think I counted 6 times he said GD. And then, like, at the end, I could, like, scroll through. And I don't scroll through, but I, like, flip through in the physical copy. And I seen he said it again. I was out on that. Peace on that. And then, Jenny Colgan, Christmas at the Cupcake Cafe. I do have that. I'm trying to sell it on Pango, so if anybody wants to, hey. But it was not for me. Like, I read, I'll talk about this one a little bit. I did finish this one, so I'll talk about this a little bit. But Meet Me at the Cupcake Cafe first, and didn't love it. And then I tried to read this, but they were disrespecting Baby Jesus, like, real fast in this. And I was like, peace out. Jenny Colgan on my list, because, like, it was just so ridiculous what I read. I was like, I'm not reading this at all. You know, it was so early on. I was thankful that I didn't push through or anything, because that she was basically making fun of Baby Jesus, and I didn't like that. So I don't even know where it's at, but just know this was not for me. If you like Jenny Colgan, I'm sorry. I really wanted to like her too, but just not for me. She also does have GD in her books quite a bit. That was why I didn't love Meet Me at the Cupcake Cafe. It was in there a few times. And I didn't see it in here real fast, but I'm sure there's some other language in here. I had seen a few other things, so moving on. And that's all I DNF'd this year. Okay? Going into actual disappointments, okay? And this is in order that I read it this year. These are books I've read, okay? Sorry that took so long, but hey. So the first one that I was disappointed in was Cytonic by Brandon Sanderson. It's the first book I read this year. I ended up giving it 3 stars. But I think I was just disappointed in this because I loved Skyward so much. I listen to audio in these. All these. I always listen to audio. Like, if I physically read these books, I don't know how much I'd love them. But Skyward, because I listen on audio, it just like the experience, the narrator's really great. That's part of the reason I think I love it so much. But I got book 2 and 3, and I read book 2 last year and then 3 this year. I just didn't love the characters in either one of those as much as I did book 1. I think I'm just like, I'm ready to be back in with all the characters in the storyline from book 1, but keep like going to these side quests in a way, and I'm not as invested. So it's not like it's a bad book, but I'm just not personally invested, and it was disappointing, okay? So I still gave it 3 stars. Second book on this that disappointed me was Circe by Madeline Miller, and I gave it 2.5. I'm not big into Greek mythology. It's a miss for me. Lots of trigger warnings. Please look that up if you're going to read this. You know, I think that she writes really well, but like, just for me, I was like, I don't know what am I reading? Like, it was just very sad and tragic. Her story is so sad. And like I said, it was hard to say 2.5 just because of the writing was so good, but like, it wasn't for me. And then Meet Me in the Margins by Melissa Ferguson. Same as I said already. I just didn't connect with these characters. I mean, it was fine for a clean romance. And this was early in the year when I was, like I said, starting getting into Christian fiction. And this is published by Thomas Nelson. And so I was just like, where's the faith content? I was thinking, anything that's a Christian published book, why is there no faith content? So that's part of the reason it was like way down there. Now I'm a little more forgiving of that because I realize like some of the publishers are publishing more clean books, not just Christian books. But at the time, that was part of why I was really disappointed because there was no faith content. And I still agree that there's no, you know, it bothers me that there's no faith content because there was such a missed opportunity there. But you know, this was all, I love the premise about this though, because it was all about this girl, Savannah. She works in a publishing industry, so that was cool to see. And it was in Nashville, all the things that she was like secretly working on a romance novel, leaves the manuscript in the secret arc room, and then comes back to some man who has been writing in the margins notes and all these different things. And so that was such a fun plot, but just this author's writing is not for me personally. It always falls flat. I don't know. I wanted more from the guy too, like in this book. It was just fine. And then we have Denise Hunter's Riverbend Gap. That I gave 3 stars. I gave it 2.5 for the story, but then like moved it up to a 3 because it was really entertaining and just like all the drama. But I still want to read Denise Hunter. She's not like crossed off my list because I have liked one book by her, and you know, then this one I just wasn't crazy about. But the main story of this is girl is like traveling on her way back to Riverbend Gap, and she, like a deer runs her off the road. And so this guy Cooper comes in, he's a local deputy sheriff, and he finds her off the road and he's helping her, and they kind of connect and have this connection. And I love the beginning of this. The beginning of this, y'all, I was like, yes, okay, we got this romance coming in, yes. But things just like got wild because she's like going meeting her boyfriend who ends up being the sheriff's brother. So like looking back, it probably would have been, if I'd have just, I don't know, couldn't vibe as much with the story. Like I felt like we went too long of like her leading him out to, you know, like not coming out and saying, hey, this ain't working. They were newly dating, I get it, but like for me, I was like, can y'all just go ahead and get rid of him and let's start with the new romance? Like it's just not gonna work out. Early couple, we get it, but it almost kind of felt like it was encouraging cheating just a smidge on some parts. So that was just my personal feeling. But again, I still want to read more Denise Hunter, and a lot of y'all still tell me, I said I wasn't gonna pick up more in this series, but a lot of y'all said to pick it up. I don't know. Maybe someday, but yeah, so that was just like a disappointment because first of all, the cover is gorgeous, but like I was like really into the plot. Like the beginning was so good, and then I was like, oh, you know, it was just going way too long with the brother stuff. And this next book, y'all, what was this? Okay, 2 stars. The Reason I Jump by what's his name? Naoki Higashida. And this is the inner voice of a 13-year-old boy with autism. This is translated, so maybe that's part of why I just couldn't get on with this, but this is set in like an interview style where this 13-year-old autistic boy is answering all of these questions. He's unable to speak, but he can type and answer all these questions. He's written out the answers for a lot of questions that people have for people with who have autism. And y'all already know my son does have autism. I always want to mention that because when I'm reviewing a book that has something to do with autism in it, so I can like speak from some experience here. I did appreciate some of the stuff in this. I could relate to some of it. But some of this stuff was like ridiculous, okay? Let me just say that one of the questions was like, why do you like being in the water? Because that's a big thing. If you have, just for awareness, if you have or know anyone that has a child with autism, if they go missing or something, the first thing that they do is run to bodies of water. And it's so sad what has happened to so many families. It's devastating. And so that they just gravitate towards water. But the answer for this was like, we just want to go back to the distant past, to a primeval era. In fact, before human beings even existed. All people with autism feel the same about this. And it goes into talking about aquatic life forms, primeval era stuff, like human beings emerging onto dry land. Like, it kind of got weird into like evolution stuff. And I was like, okay, how about no? So, like, my son likes the water because he likes the water, like, not because he wants to go back to be a primeval era. It was so weird. So, yeah, I don't know. And I've seen a lot of people question the validity of the translation here, too. So that, like I said, that could be it. And, you know, I've read and researched a lot about autism. I have personal experience with my son. I just felt like some of these questions were a little ridiculous, so I give it 2 stars. Also, there was something weird at the end of this where it was like, off-putting because they were trying to discuss heaven and like going back to your loved ones, and it was a really sad story. And I thought, okay, so yeah, I still have this because I ain't sold it on Pango yet, so it's still just chilling over there. I need to just take it to Goodwill. All right, so now that I've talked about that for too long, the next book okay, next book was Loving a Dream Come True by Tammy Gray. I'm sorry, it fell. If it fall, it fall. Like Chrissy says, if it fall, it fall. Like, you know, I know that I'm probably in a minority on some of this. Some of y'all agreed on a lot of the things. It's so, like, when I had posted my review, so many people messaged me. It's like, oh my gosh, I so agree with a lot of what you're saying. But I just had to have the transparency and the honesty. So I did a whole series review on a video on this series. The first 2 books, they're my favorites of the year. But this is my most disappointing because it just didn't live up to the book 1 and 2. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm not going to get into too much of the details. I don't want to spoil anything with character names and all that stuff. There's a relationship in here that has this girl, you know, centered around like a rock band romance. So she's like really infatuated with this guy, and it's almost like to the point of obsession. And it was like, she's like idolizing, you know what I'm saying? And she had this kid, and there's all this stuff that I just didn't vibe with, you know? And I'm not judging her in any way as a mom. I'm just saying that in the story, I didn't love it, you know? I did like her daughter, though. She's got on my nerves. The main girl got on my nerves. And, you know, there's a lot of things I liked because I listed it out in my review what I liked. But I didn't like the idolization and the immaturity there. And I'm not big on rock band stories, so I was like, I was kind of bored on some of that. And the romance was really rushed. Also, there just wasn't as much faith in this one as there was like in book 1 and 2. But y'all, I'm telling y'all, I ain't bashing this at all. Like, book 1 and 2, the best, you know? Like, this author, she's just amazing. But this one just like didn't hit it for me. So, it's okay. Moving on. The Bride of Blackfriars Lane by Michelle Greep. 2.5 stars. Read this in September. Y'all, it just fell flat because, look, book 1 was so good. I gave it 4 stars. It was so much fun. But Kit and Jackson, our main characters in here, they were just fighting the whole time. What was that? 60% in, we still fighting. And, like, in the first book, they're solving mysteries and stuff together. But there's so much romantic conflict in the second book that I was like, I'm over this. I almost DNF'd it. But, like, I just wanted to see how it ended. The ending was good. I liked the ending. But That's why it's 2.5. You know, the ending was not bad. But, again, the conflict was my problem here. And then we're going into Lost in Darkness, okay? I gave it 2.5 stars, you know? I think Michelle Griep has a really good writing style. You know, like, she has good faith content. All those things are always great in the books. I've read 3 of her books so far. They're great. But in this one, I did not like the ending, okay? Like, Lost in Darkness, the ending really just was not for me. Maybe, I keep saying if I would have read Frankenstein, maybe I'd have been more of a fan, you know what I'm saying, in the experience. But I was depressed at the ending, so that's all I can say. I did round this up to 3 on Goodreads, but it's technically 2.5, you know. Yeah, so there ain't much else to say on that. Trigger warnings on that too. Look it up before you read that. I won't go into all of it, but yeah, it's just a bit much. I have Sundown by Susan May Warren. I give this 2.5. No, 2 stars. Whatever. It just I did not like this. I just don't even know that I fully finished it. I got to the end and skimmed a lot. To be honest with y'all, it was just I didn't care. Like, I really liked book 1 and 2. They were some of my most favorite, not really favorite tops, but like they were really good books and fun and action-packed and romantic suspense, all the good things. Sunrise and Sunburst, so much fun. But then when I got to here and I was like, no, miss me with this book, because we had a storyline centered around a virus vaccine. I mean, we had this whole story that was just surrounded by this woman who's supposed to save the world from an airborne virus from a vaccine, and I didn't care. So that was why. I mean, I liked some of the other characters in here that we got to see from the previous books, and that was it for me. But I didn't like our characters in this, the main ones. Like, I was like, peace out, you know. So that's why I didn't like this. Then we got 2.5. Okay, hold on a minute. I need some tea. I mean, we love to see it. I need that tea. My throat's getting real parched, okay? So, the next book that I was disappointed in was Jenny Colgan, Meet Me at the Cupcake Cafe. I should DNF this, y'all. Like, I was like halfway. I'm like, why am I still reading this? And that's another reason in my goals video, I say I'm going to embrace more of the DNF. Like, I did DNF some, but I really need to, like, decide. You know what I'm saying? But I had that Christmas book, and I thought maybe it'll be fine, and no. I gave this 2.75. What was cool about this was, like, you had recipes at the beginning of each chapter that was, like, tied to the story. I liked that, you know? And, like, this girl's trying to basically make her own bake shop, Cupcake Cafe, I guess you'll say, after losing her job. Cool, whatever. But the stuff I didn't like in this was all romance-related. And the language in this, they use the Lord's name in vain, like, at least twice. And like, the details of the boyfriend was so weird. She was so just like going back to this bad guy who was not good to her, didn't support her. And I was like, look here, girl, you need to get with it. I get it's realistic. I get it. But like, I just didn't want to read about it. And she was 31-year-old doing all this stuff. And like, it was so obvious he did not support her. And like, they were supposed to be like, he was her boss and like they was together. And like, everybody in the office knew, but he acted like real shady on that too. So I was like, peace out, Graham. So yeah, and there was too many point of views. I couldn't figure out who was talking. So yeah, I just don't think that Jenny is for me. So a couple of honorable mentions of other books that were a little disappointing that I wrote down was Dreams of Savannah by Rosanna M. White. I gave it 3.5. Looking back, it's probably more like a 3. Like, I don't know. It's fine. It's just, I got bogged down so bad in the Civil War stuff. Like, I don't know. I don't even remember half of what happened. You know what I'm saying? So, some of the characters were good and stuff, but like, I've got some more Rosanna on my shelf. I do want to read it. Like this 20s book back here. Y'all, I really want to read that. But, we'll see. And then, The Secrets of Emberwild by, what was her name? Stephania McGee. I gave it 3.5. But it's really a 3. Like, it was just so cliche and disappointing in a lot of things for me. So, yeah, that was just honorable mention there. So, yeah, that's all the books. I think I got everybody. So, if I missed anything, my bad. But I'm pretty sure, going through my notes here, yeah, that's it. So, this is like a 30-minute video on all the books that disappointed me. So, sorry if I mentioned any of your favorite books. But, no, I still love you. And just let me know down in the comments below thoughts, like, What's your most disappointing book for the year? All the things. I hope that you all had a good Christmas, and I hope you're having a good day whenever you're watching this. We're almost to the new year. I'm so excited to get my favorite books filmed, favorite books video filmed. I have not filmed it yet, so I'm going to be filming that next in just a minute, if I can. It's a long video, so y'all really going to need the tea and coffee on that, because I had so many 5 stars. I had to go and like figure it out. Like, okay, what's really 5-star at this point now, you know? I don't know. Anyway, I love y'all. Hope you have a good day. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye, y'all.